Hey, what's going on, Weavers? Tim here again, and do you carry a flashlight as part of your everyday carry or EDC? Well, if so, you're going to want to check this video out, because in today's episode we will be making a Paracord flashlight holster for this awesome ThruNite BSSV4 that you can wear on your belt. So first off, a big shout out to the Floridian Idiot for inspiring this tutorial. That is his channel name. He did a really cool multi-tool / flashlight holster that this design was based on. I'll have his channel linked down below. So this holster was a bit of a challenge to figure out, but it came out quite decently. There are some caveats to using it, but I'll discuss those at the end of the video, so please watch until the end before making this. So that being said, let's get into the tutorial. In terms of materials, I'm using gray paracord for the sort of backing of the flashlight, and I'm using gold for the belt loops and the outer sheath part. Also, I've got my flashlight that I'll be making a holster for. This is the ThruNite BSSV4, which is about 1 inch in diameter. This is a really powerful and well-made light that I will also be reviewing in a separate video, so you can feel free to check that one out later if you like. To start this one off, I'm using my gray strand, and I'm going to measure out a 3.5 inch or about 8.9 centimeter section from the midpoint of the cord. I'm then going to rotate the cords so that the running ends are up top. Then from there, I'm going to tie a cobra knot by passing the right cord over the core. The left goes over top that one. Then take the left cord behind and out the crook on the right. Pull that first knot tight, then tie a second cobra knot with the now left cord over the core, right on top of that one, and then go behind the core and then out the left crook. Tighten the second knot and then pull down on the core strands to fully tighten the first cobra knot. At this point, double check the length of your core strands, as their position may have shifted during tightening. If they have, you may have to undo and redo the first couple knots. After that, continue tying cobra knots all the way down to the very end of your core strands and loop. Once you've made your way all the way down, turn the entire piece around and do another pass of cobra knots going back the way you came, making these king cobra knots. Do this all the way down the piece and just stop about 1 knot shy of the end. Next, with my long gold strand, I'm going to gut the cords by cutting both ends and then pulling out all the inner white threads. Once that's done, also make sure you melt both ends shut as well. Now, with my gutted cord on a lacing needle, I'm going to pass it through the cobra knot on the side of the piece and pull all the cord through. I also tied an overhand knot at the end to ensure that the cord doesn't slip all the way through. This is just a temporary anchor point. Then from there, I'm going to pass the cord through the side of the cobra knot on the other side that is in the next row. Pass it through from the outside to the inside. Pull all the cord through and untwist the cord as you pull it through. This is going to form our first loop. After that, go to the next cobra knot loop on the opposite side, just next to the starting point. Pull all the cord through, and now go back to the other side and create the next loop. Continue this process of making loops across the cobra knot piece, and I'm making 7 loops. Make these loops larger than your flashlight. So I've got my 7 loops, and I'm using this wooden mandrel that's got a wider diameter than the flashlight I'm using. You can use whatever you have available. PVC pipe is probably the most readily and easily available material you can use. I'm going to pass the mandrel through the loops, and then from there I'm going to tighten the loops around the mandrel, working the slack out the running end. Ensure that you get any twists out. Now with the lacing needle, we're going to do an over-under pattern, weaving going through the looped cords. I'm going to start by going over the first and then under the second. I'm pulling the cord through after each loop I go through, as it's easier to untwist the cord from underneath a single loop instead of a few. Once I've gotten to the top, I'm just going to go back under next to the cord I first wove, and I'm going to start by going under the first loop and then over the second. Make your way back down to the bottom and ensure you untwist your cord as you go through. So this is sort of the basket weave pattern we're going to do all the way across the flashlight holster. You're going to weave about 90% across the loops, as this mandrel is larger than my flashlight. After the main part of the weave is done, I'm going to remove my mandrel. And then place my flashlight in the holster. From there, I'm going to tighten the loops by working the slack out towards the anchored end. That's the end that has the little overhand knot on it. The reason for doing this is that the holster has to be just tight enough around the flashlight, but not too snug, otherwise it's too difficult to get the light in the holster. So just using my knotter's tool, I'm going to work the slack out the anchored end, going back and forth. Now once all the slack is worked towards the end, I'm going to pull on that knotted end and remove it from the cobra knot that it was fed through. Next, I'm going to untie the overhand knot that's part of the gold cord, and then I'm going to pass it through the same cobra knot on the side where the loops started. Going back to the running end of the gold cord, I have a bit of space to fill, so I'm going to do 2 more passes to close up the holster. Once at the bottom, I'm going to anchor the gold cord by going over and then under the 2 bottom loops before coming out the side. Moving back up top to where the cobra knots ended, I'm going to do a clean cobra knot finish by loosening the last knot and then pass the cord on the right from the back under the last knot and then tightening it. From there, I'm going to snip and melt the excess gold and gray cords. Just snip off the excess cords with your scissors, melt with a lighter, and then press down on them to lock them in place. Finally, I'm going to add my belt loops by taking my first gutted short piece of 550 gold paracord, and I'm going to feed it through one of the horizontal cobra knot cords on the back and get equal amounts of cord on each side. Then, using my belt as a guide, I'm going to pass the paracord under the bottom of the top strand, and then I'm going to do the same with the other side. I'm going to pass my belt through the loops and now tie the cobra knots going down the core strands to the bottom of the belt. It really helps using a lacing needle in this situation. Once at the bottom, just snip and melt the excess cords. I'm of course going to do another belt loop right beside the first one I made for more stability. Just do the exact same thing again right next to the first one. So there we have it, folks, a Paracord flashlight belt holster for my new ThruNite BSSV4. So I did mention some caveats to this holster, and the main issue is based on the model of flashlight you're using. As you noticed, I didn't clip the pocket clip of the light onto the holster, and that's because it made taking the light in and out of the holster a bit tough, as the clip is very strong. Also, because this light has this side switch and rubberized charging port cover on the side, I had to ensure that the holster wasn't too tight, otherwise even without the clip it would still struggle to go in and out. That's what she said. So for this particular light, I found that this holster works best if I insert the light with the clip slightly rotated towards the back of the holster, and then I rotate it to lock it in place and secure it. In this position, the clip prevents the light from going anywhere with a sort of friction fit, and it is quite secure. I know it's not perfect, but we live in an imperfect world. You may or may not come across these issues, as if the pocket clip is not as strong or the body of the flashlight you're using is smoother, this holster could work even better. So based on the light you're using, I would just say expect some tweaking to happen when making this holster. So that being said, I hope you all found this video interesting and useful. Also, don't forget to check out my review of this ThruNite BSSV4 flashlight. It's a pretty sweet light, and that review will be up at the same time of this video. That being said, a huge thank you to all my Patreon supporters. If you want access to exclusive tutorials as well as our Discord server, feel free to check out my Patreon page, link in the video cards as well as down below. You can join for as little as $3 a month. You can also support this channel by liking the video and commenting. Also, feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to check out what I have to offer on the rest of my channel.